the media have been telling everyone it's the EDL, it's far-right racist thugs. But, you know, you've got elderly pensioners on the streets right now with Union Jacks just wanting to be in support of their country, and they're labelled as a far-right racist thugs. It's absolutely disgusting. Labels being put on decent, everyday, innocent people.
Hi guys, I'm here today in my hometown of Rotherham. Now, Rotherham has been known all over the world for the child protection scandal, and just last week we hit the headlines yet again. Now, this time for when a hotel came under attack. Now, the protest was meant to be a peaceful protest, but after an hour broke into rioting. And the police were present. Mainstream media also run the story, but blamed the EDL and said that people in attendance were far-right racist thugs. Now, I'm here today to interview one of the leaders of EDL. So, Guramit Singh, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you? Thank you very much for having me. It's a lovely day. Just a shame we're in this part of the world. I'm only joking. I love Rotherham, me. But yeah.
Well, listen, Rotherham is known, of course, for many bad things, but as well, what you've got to remember is exploitation happens, as we know, all across the country. But if we look at Rotherham, you know, you had people such as myself and other survivors that have helped change this country in regards to exploitation.
No,
so we're not all bad.
No, God bless you for that. The work that you've done and other survivors have done has been absolutely imperative for the future survival of girls in this country. So yeah, God bless you. High five on that one. God bless you.
So listen, I'll be honest. I don't know much about EDL.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning.
Well, I think the main thing to point on right now is there is no English Defence League. There hasn't been an English Defence League since 2011. I was there when it just about first started. I was running it alongside with Tommy and Kev and a few other individuals a few months after my involvement, and up to the point of 2011. I left in the 2011, but when I left, me, Tommy and Kev were having discussions about disbanding it completely anyway. So I had left, and then I had a court case not long after, and then Tommy and Kevin had disbanded it, so there was no English Defence League at all.
So why did you disband it then?
But because sometimes organisations run their course. You set out to do a job, you do the job. What's the point of it from there? Other people's lives go in different ways. You know, some people saw their careers in different areas, moving forward in other ways, rather than just having a street movement, a street social movement, such as what the English Defence League was. So I had left, and then soon after, Tommy and Kevin disbanded it, and it was no more. Now, during the English Defence League, there was a lot of far-right racists, which is a word that's being thrown around on anybody nowadays that's patriotic to their country. But in them days, there was a lot of far-right racists that we had to throw out of the English Defence League ourselves. Now, what you found is once Tommy and Kev had disbanded the English Defence League, soon after I had left, what had happened, a lot of these racists that we threw out in the first place had come back around to pick up some of the crumbs, as you could say. And they started calling themselves EDL and going out and doing little demonstrations of 15 people, but we were completely against that. They never had any of the founding leaders or founding organisers support her in any way, and they carried it on for a few years, but then I think that just dwindled into nothing anyway. But the official English Defence League was ended in 2011. Now, what you've had recently is you've had the press, politicians, especially the mainstream media, is just another example of them lying to everybody, telling everyone that these demonstrations, which some of them which have turned quite violent in the country, have been organised or part of the English Defence League, which is a complete fallacy. It's a complete falsehood. It's nothing to do with the English Defence League. There is no English Defence League. These are concerned citizens in their own areas, going out and using their freedom to demonstrate, freedom to protest, and unfortunately you've had a minority in there that have turned quite violent, and that's something that none of us condone. Okay,
so let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I was always told that EDL is a far-right racist organisation. Do you think it's fair to say that the entire organisation were far-right and racist, or do you think this were just a couple of people that kind of gave you all a bad name?
The English Defence League, our manifesto, our morals, our ethics, everything about us is completely against anything to do with racism, segregation, anything like that. There was a few individuals that we collared, and we sometimes got a bit physical with them, and we had to throw out of the English Defence League, which were far-right racists. And they were the people we were against. We were against them just as much as we were against extremist Muslims. People think that most of my death threats during the English Defence League time would come from Muslims, but actually it wasn't. Most of the death threats that I received came from far-right racists. That's what, and Tommy would say the same thing as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because I've only been with Urban Scoop for about a month, so I'm learning a lot. But what I've seen is that people that I would actually say were far right and racist, not, you know, because I know we've thrown lots of labels about, but people that I would say are far right and racist actually don't like Tommy.
Yeah, 100% no, because we're against everything that they believe in. We're against racism, and that's why, like I said, you can ask Tommy the same question. I know it's true. Most of our death threats in the past came from that sector of society, more than what extremist Muslims used to threaten us. So that's the fact of it. I don't know if there was any far-right racists at any of these demonstrations, because I don't know every single individual that was at these demonstrations. To tell you the truth, I don't know any of the people that were at any of these demonstrations. A few of my friends went to the Nottingham one. I think you reported from there. They told me it went all down quite peacefully.
It was,
Yeah, they told me a group of Muslims came all masked up and everything and started threatening people at some point, but I wasn't there myself, so I can't really comment on it down to the bone.
In Nottingham, to my knowledge, and when I was there, everything seemed to go peaceful. There was one incident. There was somebody that came from stand-up to racism into what I'd say onto the side of the right. And he did attack someone. So to my knowledge, that was the only incident. But when I was in Southport, and I was right in the centre, because when I got there, the rioting, you know, it had already started. There was a man there that was a far-right racist. I won't even repeat, you know, the things he was saying, because it was disgusting. But he made his feelings very, very clear that he could not stand Tommy, to the point where I thought, if he recognises me, because I work with Urban Scoop, I've also got mixed-race children, I had to move myself out of the way. I phoned my boss and said, you know, I think there's going to be a situation. But he wanted to be violent towards anybody that was in support of Tommy. Yeah,
precisely, because we've always said it, that Islamism and Nazism, we've always said, is two sides of the same coin. They share many different similarities, even though they are different ideologies and different races, but that's something that we've picked on over the years. So that's the reason that man was completely against Tommy Robinson, because they always have been, because we're against everything that they believe in, and that's always been the same. The media have been telling everyone it's the EDL, it's far-right racist thugs, but you know, you've got elderly pensioners on the streets right now with Union Jacks just wanting to be in support of their country, and they're labelled as a far-right racist thugs. It's absolutely disgusting. Labels being put on decent, everyday, innocent people. Now you have had this small minority up and down the country that have turned these demonstrations into riots, which, you know, nobody condones. You don't condone that. I don't condone that. It's disgusting. Nobody's gone out there to promote it. You've had the media telling everybody that this is all an after effect of our demonstration that we did on 27th of July. That's a load of bollocks as well, because all these demonstrations all basically came after that demonstration even happened. And so, you know, but you know, they're just trying to point blame and trying to they're trying to mould the British public's opinion onto someone that has got nothing to do with it, which is mainly Tommy Robinson. They're trying to pin the blame on them, where really the blame of this, in my eyes, actually comes down to the politicians and, you know, their policies.
No, I agree. So when I was also going to protests and riots, there was people coming along saying we're here because, you know, we're going to do something to the EDL. Who do you think's to blame for that?
Pardon? Well, the fact that the politicians have been out there and stoked this fire to say that the fascist, so-called fascist English Defence League are on the streets, and they've also promoted this story whereas the so-called English Defence League are out there attacking the local community and local mosques. Now, I haven't seen any evidence of anybody attacking any mosques. I have seen evidence of a church being attacked the other day in Wembley, but this is politicians stoking that fire, mainstream media running onto it, and then you're having the side of Muslims coming out and they're looking for a fight as well. So it is down to the politicians and the mainstream media that has brought everybody onto the street, and now all of a sudden everyone's against each other again.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Southport, I did see the mosque under attack, and when I was there, and I said to, I know obviously you've not been there, but when I was there, and I said to people, you know, why has a riot started here? And they said, well, because the mosque is there. Some people believe that the man that killed those 3 little girls were a Muslim.
So this is in Southport, right?
Yes.
Yeah, got you. Okay.
Yeah. So why do you think the rioting started?
Well, I think there's a lot of anger in the streets of the British people, regardless of their race and religion in this country. There's issues with you know, with the unresolved illegal asylum immigration issue that you've got with people staying in hotels. The one big thing that I'm always touching on with a lot of people is they have concerns. They have real concerns regarding their family and their country, and they're not being listened to. No politicians or political party are taking their voice in. So basically, I think these grievances have started with the people of this community are down to the illegal immigration with all these so-called asylum seekers, these legal migrants staying in the hotels. There's further grievances within their own communities. Funds are short. People are not being taken care of. Politicians are not listening to their grievances and their concerns. And then you have what happened in Southport with the murder of these three innocent children. And then basically that's it. It's all just brewed up, and it's just absolutely exploded. And now some people want to blame that on all the event that Tommy Robinson held on the 27th of July. You know, this was after that, and he was already even out of the country. But the politicians are using their failures as excuses. Politicians are using these lies as excuses to put onto somebody else because they're trying to get the heat away from themselves. And so that's what I basically see. Now, when it comes to people that are going out being violent and rioting, I understand why that's happening, because there's going to be individuals out there that are so concerned and so pissed off with the state of the country that they're going to pick their fists up and they're going to throw bricks. You know what I mean? It's not what I do. I mean, sometimes I wake up and I want to throw a brick at Aidan, but I don't do that. You know what I mean? I'm only joking, Aidan. I'm only joking, Aidan. But you know, but you don't do that because you need to stay within the law. You know what I mean? And throwing bricks at buildings and stuff like that and setting stuff on fire never got anybody anywhere. And especially when they're trying to put this far right extremist label on you, which doesn't exist. You know, you're now actually playing into their hands and proving that you kind of are in a little way. So you know, but I believe these riots have started from the tensions that are built up within the communities and the grievances the British people have, which are not being addressed.
So when I've been doing a lot of interviews, and this is for media all over the world, people want to start with the riots in Southport, but the rioting didn't start with Southport.
No, it didn't.
It started in Har Hill with Leeds.
Har Hill with Leeds,
and then of course with Manchester. I remember watching that in Leeds, and I actually went to Leeds and I interviewed people within the community. And what we saw was people rioting, making demands. We saw police running. And I'll be honest, I felt for the police.
Was this in Hare Hills or Manchester?
Yes, in Hare Hills.
Yeah, I saw clips of that as well.
So we see the police running away because they were totally outnumbered. It's not safe for them. And then you see children returned. So people have looked at that and thought, you know, naughty behaviour has clearly won.
Yeah, precisely.
Then we went to Manchester, where Pakistani Muslim men started a protest and rioting because of what happened with the Manchester airport incident. We've not seen any charges yet within that. So then we go to Southport with the white community rioting. Why is it people are forgetting the Roma community rioting and the Pakistani Muslim community rioting, but not the white community rioting?
Because in this country we have, number one, we got a two-tier police system. That's 100%. That's 100% apparent to everybody. That exists. The government and police officers can try and brush it under the carpet and say that it's BS as much as they want. You know, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, you've got to call it a duck. And so we have a two-tier policing system. The was it the Romanian community?
The Roma community.
Romani community in Har Hills, they were dealt with in a certain way. The Pakistani community in Manchester were dealt with in a certain way. The British community, mostly predominantly English community in Southport, they were dealt with a completely opposite way. That just shows you the two-tier policing, which is in action. I mean, Tommy Robinson and a number of journalists spoke about this at the demonstration. There's a documentary out there which has been banned called Silence. That tells you a lot about it as well. But there is a 100% two-tier policing system, and it's not just that. There's a two-tier media system as well. They'll report on something and make that look as extreme and as violent as what it is, but the other thing, they'll dumb it down, like the BLM riots. They were out there calling them peaceful and this, that, and the other, where they were outright riots. But they didn't say anything. When you had the English lads do that in Southport, then all of a sudden the far right racists, the thugs, there's this, that, and the other. So there's a two-tier media system. There's a two-tier justice system. In Manchester, you saw these people these individuals at the airport that assaulted, think they fractured a nose or the police officer's face, and then they were kicked in the head, which I don't really agree with either by the other police officer. They haven't been arrested, but in Southport, our government, Keir Starmer and the government, have been intent on locking these people up as quickly as possible. Now they say it's to stop the riots and stop it in its tracks, you know what I mean? Get them locked up, get them processed, get them in jail. But on the other hand, why don't you lock these rioters up as well? You know what I mean? So there's a two-tier justice system as well. And that's what we're dealing in this country. And that's another one of the main reasons why these lads are out there in the first place demonstrating.
I mean, yesterday I shared a post on X of a woman that's been remanded into custody because she bought flour and eggs which were later allegedly used to throw at police officers. Now,
throwing eggs is
this kind of like hit a nerve for me, because when I come forward,
is that pathetic? It's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously it's not for her, because
I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Remanded,
God bless her. You know what I mean?
When I saw it, I was like, at first I laughed, and then I thought, well, actually, no, this is a woman's life. But when I came forward and testified against my rapist, now bearing in mind I was a child, he was an adult, there was DNA evidence because I had a child through that.
Yeah.
In fact, there was that much evidence, police told me they didn't even need to question him.
Yeah.
Because it weren't just me coming forward, you know, there was lots of others. Yeah. He didn't get remanded. No. That investigation was ongoing for 3 years. One of the men in that trial got to Pakistan. Yeah. So for people like me, that's a real kind of kick in the stomach.
100%, yeah, 100%. I get what you're saying. I mean, I saw a post recently, and I did some digging into it. One of the so-called rioters, I'm not too sure if it was Southport or another area, he got convicted within a week and got remanded and sentenced within a week or so, and got 24 months. At the same time, you've got this asylum seeker who's repeatedly raped a 13-year-old who can't speak English. He got 180 hours community service. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? And that's your two-tier justice system. Yeah. You know, it's happening over and over and over again. You know what I mean? A lot of these so-called rioters that have been arrested, you know, they've been remanded in prison. Yeah. You know, it's just for some people, just for being there. There was a young girl the other day. She was quite young as well, and she went guilty of violent disorder. And she's only a young person as well. You think, you know, give them a chance. Sometimes young people are quite impressionable and stuff like that. Yeah. But, you know, they've dealt with them so harshly. And then on the other side of it, it seems like
they're filming it as well. They're filming the judge. The judges are laying down.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and
I personally think they're targeting the wrong people.
Yeah, they're trying to put an example out there. Like basically, like, if you are British and you do have concerns for this country, you can't say anything at all. You don't say anything. Do not say a word or be critical of the people that are hostile against us, especially Muslims. Yeah. You know what I mean? Don't say anything against them. We're on their side. You've seen Keir Starmer say, I will send money. I'm out here to protect the Muslim community.
Yeah, you know? What do you think about him only wanting to kind of focus on the Muslim community?
I know, yeah, it's ridiculous, and this is two-tier Keir for you. You know what I mean? For some reason, the community that is most hostile to all other communities is the one that needs protecting. I think it's completely the opposite. I think it's the non-Islamic communities that need protecting. That's my personal opinion.
I think we should focus on all communities. I don't think any community should be treated different. And I think,
agree with you. Yeah.
I think the way he come out and the way he favoritised
100%.
that just poured fuel on the fire. I think it was done deliberately.
And you know what? One of the most hilarious things, I think it was a West Midlands superior police officer, and he turned around and he gave a Muslim greeting. He was like, "Salam alaikum," or something like that. I found it hilarious. And then he said, "I just want to say there is no two-tier police system. We police without favour and fear." And then he spoke in Urdu, like shukriya, to say goodbye. And I was like, are you taking the absolute piss? This is like comedy. Are you literally taking us for fools or something? You know what I mean?
I don't think Keir and the Labour Party are ever going to live this down. I don't think they are.
I mean, that party got into votes and got the majority through pure lies. We've seen him do interviews where he said that there was women that were freezing cold and he went round their houses and they couldn't wear coats until 12 o'clock. Now he takes away the pensions. He's talking that he's going to help British. His party is for the people. You know, all of a sudden these 90,000 legal refugees are being given citizenship, and then Angela Rayner has now torn up the paperwork to say that refugees can't be put on the list on the housing ladder as quickly or something. So basically they're on the housing market now as well. So there's going to be less houses for Britain, less money for Britain, less houses for British people, less money for British people. You know, and these are the lies that they've just absolutely got themselves into power with, and now the true colours are showing, and I think everybody.
I find that with most politicians, if I'm honest.
100%.
I was actually asked by a Labour politician to endorse them, and I considered it. And the reason why I considered it, because I didn't vote for Labour, I voted Reform. But I considered it because I thought. Well, I was told that he would support my work around family courts, around child protection. And from all the parties that I've ever worked with in 11 years, the couple of politicians that have really supported me are Labour. Now, I decided not to endorse Labour, thank God, because of how everything's panned out. But where do you think it's going to go from here?
I mean, it's great that, even today I was just reading an article how the Labour Party have decided that the Reform MPs cannot sit on any Parliament committees. and they took like 4 million votes. They got more votes than the Liberal Democrats, but yet for some reason we've only got 4 or 5 MPs. You know what I mean? It's disgraceful. I mean, I think Reform are making headways. I think Labour's cock up over the next 5 years will show the British public precisely what the Labour Party are really about, how they do lie. We've already, the Conservative Party have already exposed themselves. I mean, me and my family have been staunch Conservative voters our whole life, you know what I mean? When Boris Johnson came into power, I felt a real change coming. I thought Brexit is happening. I felt a pure pro-British attitude in the country. All that's just been thrown away. So I'm hoping with Reform, they'll start making some headways, and when it comes to 5 years down the line, then they'll, you know, really make a big impact and hopefully to be the majority, and we could see Mr Farage as the next Prime Minister. I mean, that's the only way the concerns that British people have, regardless of colour and religion, that's the only way their concerns will get fixed, is by having a pro-British party.
I do think, out of all the politicians, I do like Nigel for most of the things. I have me rant about him from time to time. But I think one thing that Reform lacks is their voice on child protection and violence against women. I've not seen them vocal on that.
Well, maybe that's something that you could get involved in, Sammy, because
that's what I'm trying to do.
I mean, you've got a huge voice like that, and God bless you for all the work you've done, because the work that you have done has inevitably saved a lot of young girls' lives in the future as well. So maybe that's something that you should put your hand to as well. I'm sure they'd be more than welcoming to take your opinion and take you on board and listen and discuss issues with you. Lee Anderson's a local politician to us. I mean, this is how bad it is for me. I live in an area, it used to be Conservative, it's now Labour. It's a very working class area. I live there because of the demographic build-up. It's safe for me. When I came out of jail, I went through I had a lot of issues with violent Muslims within prison. I came out, it took a lot from me. I wanted to be somewhere comfortable. That's where I live. Now it's under a Labour, now it's a Labour constituency. I'm actually now literally in the middle of looking at moving myself and my family up to the Lee Anderson constituency, because I know in that constituency you've got an MP that is there for the people. So that's how serious I'm taking it nowadays. You know what I mean? I think you have to protect yourselves on your own. I don't think my area will be protected by Labour MP.
I must admit, I'm starting to kind of like weigh up my options.
You have to,
with
don't
things.
you? Yeah, 100%. I think in the area that he's in as well, it's like not what Nottingham used to be 25 years ago. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I'm going to be heading for next.
I mean, me and my eldest son was actually talking the other day, because some time ago I was saying, you know, maybe to move abroad, and he was really against it. He's kind of now swaying to it.
Maybe that could be good for both of you. If you've got the opportunity and the freedom to do it. At least try it out. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with renting a place for 12 months while you keep something going here and coming and going.
I think a lot of people wanted to do that. A lot of people are scared for the direction of the country.
When I came back from a honeymoon the other day, we had a Romanian taxi driver pick us up from Manchester Airport to bring us back to Nottingham, and he was telling us about Romania, and I was sat in the back and I was like, fucking hell, these guys have had it so good. Back in the day, we used to say, like, we used to think that areas like, you see, this is another thing about the media. I used to grow up thinking Romania, Poland and areas like this were bad places to go. I've actually discovered that these places are absolutely wonderful, beautiful, safe, you know, and very patriotic. The Christian countries and you know, and my people are over here because of the Christian countries, because under the Christian rule, we're safe and we can thrive, you know what I mean? We can't do that under an Islamic rule, per se, you know what I mean? And so I was thinking, my God, these guys have got it so good out there and we have it so bad here. When all my life I've been told that this is the great place and that's the evil place. It's actually, we've been lied to our whole life there once again by politicians and the media.
A lot of people I've been speaking to, and not just in person but online, feel that we are a Christian country. We should remain a Christian country. Another faith should be allowed to practice, but always remain a Christian country. 100%. But they feel that this is soon going to be an Islamic country. Do you think that's true?
100%, yeah, because when you've had what we've just been speaking about right now with the two-tier policing, two-tier justice system, two-tier media, they seem to favour Muslims more than they do non-Muslims. And so it's already moving that way. They've got them in the hands of the pocket. Now listen, I love Muslims, I have no issue with them, but I do have an issue with Islam, because Islam wants to put my religion to bed. It wants to put other religions to bed, and I don't believe in that, so I have an issue with it, so I've got to speak up against it. I understand all Muslims aren't really thinking in that way, but if it ever comes to a day and there is a majority of Muslims in power and they want this to be an Islamic state, the so-called peaceful Muslims will side with them. They won't side with us. They ain't going to protect me. They're going to go against me. I know that. We have 1,600 years of history to learn by to know that that is true, because it happens consistently over and over again. So the country is 100% swaying that way. When you've got our own Prime Minister who only concentrates on protecting the Muslim community, it's going that way.
Okay. So talk to me about religion then. I'm not a religious person. I have been
I'm not really
in life.
either.
Should they only be one religion, or should we allow all religions equally.
No, well, that's the whole point. I mean, this is a Christian country.
Yeah.
The main reason our people came here is because there's always been a strong alliance with Sikhs and Christians. It goes back centuries, and so our people came here, and there was grievances back in the day, but everyone gets along. That's just how it is. The way I feel when it comes to the religious pond, I feel that you have every single religion: Hindus, Sikhs, Jews, Rastafarians, and they all get on. But you have this other religion called Islam, which is hostile to everybody else. That's not my opinion. That's a fact, and that's a fact worldwide. There's no brushing it under the carpet. It is the way it is. I'm not making these things up. I am speaking on evidence that I've seen from around the world that's been happening for 1600 years. So all religions do get on, and they're all sound. They live on this great Christian country because it's not just Christian. It's not just a Christian country. The rules and regulations and morals are built up around the Christian religion, and we share them morals and them ethics, and so that's why we all get on so well. But then on the other part, you have this Islamic voice, and that doesn't really integrate at all because it's completely against it. It's an awkward one because they think we're all in the wrong, and we all know that they're in the wrong. And then you've got this situation where they're in the country, and then you do have the extremists that keep screaming and shouting, and they want Sharia and this, that, and the other. But then you're completely against that. But then you have this peaceful side which don't say anything at all. So it makes it a complicated situation. But in the future, what we've learned from by history is when them extremists do get their voice out there and they become a majority of their community, and especially what I've noticed is as the generations go on, the more younger the Muslims, the further the generations go on, they start becoming a lot more extreme. The Muslims, when I was a kid, the elder fellas used to call them uncle and stuff. They were very nice, peaceful guys. I don't really see them people in our community no more. You know what I mean? Okay. I don't know where they've gone. But so you've got this situation where I understand when the extremists do get their foothold within their communities, the peaceful, moderate ones always do kind of side with them. Well, they do side with them. They won't side with us. They'll side with them. So that's the way I see, the religious build-up, the setup. Everybody shares the same sort of morals and ethics on this side, and then you have that side which don't share anything in common at all.
I'm no expert in religion.
Same here.
But
Same here.
I'll just focus on Muslims and Christians for a second because I feel they're kind of most things. Now, if there's one thing you've got to say is that they do really stick together. They won't back down when it comes to their religion. You've almost got to respect that.
Yeah.
When I look at the church, I feel, and I felt this for some time, I feel like the church is weak.
Okay, what's happened here is precisely what our governments have done. They've let the church be watered down. They've let it be weak. The Christians in this country, over and over again, have been attacked by its own country, by its politicians, and that's why it has become weak and watered down. Christianity has as a whole. The Muslims are very staunch in their beliefs and their values. There is no watering it down. That's why they are where they are, and they're heading on the trajectory that they are. Now, what you have seen in this country is a big resurgence of Christianity. There's more and more people going towards it. They're becoming stronger. It's not the soy boy Christianity that you see now and then. It's the more hard-nosed one that you see people like, I don't know if you know Bob the Builder from down here. I've never met him myself.
What,
he was
from
on
cartoon?
No, bloody cartoon, typical Yorkshire woman. Okay, no, he still watches cartoons, do you?
Oh, no. My grandson.
Bob the Builder is one of these Christian spokespersons who's now Speaker's Corner every Sunday.
Oh, I've never been.
I'll send you a link to his YouTube. It's called Soccer Films or something like that.
Okay.
And he's out there and he's debating with Muslims and all other religions on a weekly basis. He puts everybody to shame. His type of Christianity is a Christianity that I know, which I grew up with. Because I grew up in an area, Beeston, Nottingham, shout out all the Beeston crew, and I grew up in an area, a very Christian area. I went to a C&V primary school, I went to a C&V nursery, I was in the church every day, I went to a C&V primary school, I was in the church once or so a week, I went to a Christian secondary school, so I grew up around Christians. And so, Christianity is deeply rooted within me, although I am a Sikh. I'm 100% Sikh. The vicar that raised us at them churches, he still lives a few doors down from my mum and grandma. You know what I mean? I still see them. It's a lovely community. So Christianity, I know how beautiful and incredible a religion it is, and how accepting they were of me when I grew up, and my community was absolutely incredible. Yeah. So that's why I trust Christianity. On the other hand, I can't trust Islam because of the problems that it's caused my community and our people over the centuries. But Christianity has been watered down. The media has let it been taken the piss off. Here's another another example of two-tier policing. I saw a few days ago an elderly gentleman, he must have been about 70, 75, 80 years old, and he was standing on a little pedestal in a city in England. He was just preaching the gospel. He was told to get down now, arrested him, threw him away, violent disorder. But then you've got Muslims that are just lining up on the streets of whatever city praying, not a word said, don't say anything to them. Say anything to them, we'll lock you up.
Why is there so much fear there? Because, I mean, let's look at my history. You've got Rotherham, 1,400 children abused, groomed, raped, tortured, trafficked, some even murdered.
Yeah.
Evidence showed that majority were Pakistani Muslim men that was doing it.
100%, yeah.
And people were scared to be called racist and Islamophobic. Why?
Because they're fearful to be saying anything to Muslims because of the label that you get of far right or racist and this, that and the other, because that's what we put into. We've seen, and it's been proven, especially in your circumstance with the Rotherham grooving scandal, over and over again, since the Alexis J report to recent apologies given out by constabularies, etc., that they failed the community. They've admitted it, and they said it was for the basis of community cohesion and this, that and the other, and they didn't want to upset it. They brushed a lot of these charges and crimes under the carpet. Let me know if I'm wrong or anything, I'm going off what I've read. They brushed a lot of these crimes under the carpet and did not arrest people for quite a while because they didn't want to mess anything up within the community.
Well, the only reason why anyone started getting charged is because I named a politician, a Labour politician, in the Times newspaper. Right. So they were forced into it.
Right, 100%, you see, yeah. You see, there's this thing where when it comes to the Islamic community, you can't say anything, you can't touch it. And I can go back to an example of a story Tommy Robinson told me one time. We organised a demonstration up north and I couldn't be there at the time. Can't remember what area it was because I used to organise the demos for the EDL. But then Tommy and Kev got sent to do one, and he spoke to a police officer in the north of England, and then they wanted to do a demonstration in a certain area, and the police officer said, you can't do it in that area because we don't want another Bradford riots. So basically Tommy said, so what you're basically saying, you're policing under mob rule because you don't want the Muslims kicking off with you, we can't go there. He basically said, yeah. So the police are fearful of the Islamic community. They've got the police under their pocket, the Islamic community have, and they've also got our politicians under their pocket now as well. They've got a large number that are very enforced and they're quite active, and that's the problem. So it's like we're being blackmailed by them. It's ridiculous. We can't have our voice, but you can have yours. Say what you want, do what you want, rape what you want, kill what you want, but we can't even say we don't agree with that. Because if we do say that, we get thrown in bloody jail. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. I mean, what's your thoughts on it? What do you think is actually going? Why do you think that Christians are having such a bad time and Muslims get such a good time with police officers, let's say, in general?
Well, I've seen this since I was 14, and if I'm honest, I don't think much has changed. I think people are
Why do you think the Islamic community get an easier time with the police and our government and our press than what Britain's own Christian community do? What do you think?
I don't know why the reason is, but I do think that British values are being pushed out. Yeah. I do think, and as well, if you look at families, so if you have your typical white family, you've got a married couple, they'll have 2 or 3 kids. Yeah. If you look at a Muslim family, they're much bigger. And I remember actually talking to a guy years ago, and he said, and he wasn't born Muslim, he converted. He was in prison, converted, he was now Muslim. And he said it was his job, and other Muslim men's jobs, to get as many women pregnant so they could overrule the country.
It is, it's called rape jihad, you know what I mean, marriage jihad. They want to get as many women pregnant so they can increase their population. It's been going on forever. That's one of the reasons I put down to grooming scandals, you know what I mean? It's been happening in their religion for 1,600 years, you know what I mean? It's a part of it.
I think as well that when we look at religion, like I said, I'm not an expert. Now, I lived as a Muslim woman. It weren't through choice. I was in a domestic violence relationship. I don't even talk about it because it was an awful experience. But I think for women in religion, it can be very different to men. And of course, you can't judge every experience on, there's some Muslim people that live as women very happily. But I think that religion very much contradicts our laws. And I think what we need to understand or figure out, do we live by law of the land or religion? You see, because they're very different.
You see, a lot of the laws were brought in by Christian religion, the Christian laws, you know what I mean, what we all live by. But one of the main things is, we're all supposed to be equal. It should be, what's good as goose is good for the gander. We all should be the same. We should be treated equally. We should be allowed our freedom of speech. We should be protected equally by the police and stuff, by the establishment. Our politicians are supposed to be our slaves, not our slave masters. But I don't see that happening. I see the opposite for us, but I do do see that. I do see them laws actually being applied then with the Islamic community, but not with the non-Islamic community.
I don't think we're treated equally. I mean, in my household, I'm white. My oldest son is half Pakistani. My youngest son is half black. I want us all to have the same rights and live freely. And to be honest, how I feel with everything going off in the country at the minute, I don't feel safe for any of us. Like I've had to sit down with them and say, you know, you can't go in that place, you can't go in that area.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's my son's 18th birthday next week. He wants to go to a nightclub.
Yeah, he wants to go out into town and stuff. And
I don't want him to go. I mean, I was in an area the other day, majority Pakistani Muslim people live there, which I always have to be on my guard anyway because of obviously the investigations. But I saw 3 men, I straight away put my phone on record.
100%. That's the thing.
You know, tensions are high, and I do think that politicians and media have caused that.
Yeah, tensions are high. It is down to the politicians, and the reason that the violence on the street, especially at the moment, is because our politicians are more interested in arresting people that make silly little comments on Facebook.
But I think they've done this deliberately because you don't get... I mean, listen, politicians are intelligent people.
Yeah, 100%.
So
they're supposed to be.
Well, supposed to be. You know? Why are such intelligent people acting so thick?
Yeah,
you don't put information out there like that thinking there's not going to be a backlash. So what they've done is they've you know, kind of caused this, you know, big tension and divide between all the communities, rioting started and everything, and now what they're going to do is lock everything down. And I think it's all about control. I think they've always wanted it this way. But to bring in control and all these measures, you have to make the people feel they want it and need it.
I understand where you're coming from.
And I think that's what this is about.
I completely agree with your theories right there. I do believe it is about control, and a lot of the tensions that they're stoking up, they're not going to see it in their own communities because they hardly live in the areas that are affected by these problems.
I've sat and watched, and as well, people I you know, had a lot of respect for, I've worked for, and I've seen how they've spoke about everything what's gone off, and I have called them out on some occasions of it, and I just think, why are you kind of, you know, being so vocal on something you clearly know nothing about?
Precisely,
You're not in there, you know, you're not meeting people, you're not speaking with them.
They'll turn up to lay a wreath or something like that, but what happened previously and after that, they don't really give a damn about.
And
you know
I'll be honest, like with all my work, now for 11 years I've worked in government, I've worked in media, I've spoken to a lot of people, but when I speak to survivors and family members, it's usually over the phone, down the line at a couple of conferences, etc. I've learned so much over the last few weeks from travelling around the country and actually meeting people, and I've met with all different people, different races, religions, both the left, the right, the far left, because we never talk about the left. We always talk about the right.
100%,
I've not seen hardly any coverage about what the left have been doing, and I've seen them do some pretty brutal stuff.
Two-tier media for you,
there's good and bad on all sides.
100%.
But that's opened my eyes to so much what's going on. I'll be honest, it's really pissed me off how a lot of people have been branded, because even though as a reporter, you know, you have to go there balanced and see both sides of it. I am a person who's working class, and I do consider myself a person on the right. So when I see reporters that I've worked with for 11 years and politicians branding me as a far right thug and all of this, it pisses me off.
And it also just shows you how much BS and lies that they are full of.
Because the thing is, right, when they say, no, we don't know what we're talking about, so, you know, I'm now a far right thug. I've done more for this country in regards to child protection than most of those politicians put together.
They've got the nerve to
They've just labelled everybody. And I know a lot of activists that have also done the same amount of work as me have been branded that, and they're pissed off as well.
I know, 100%, what they're doing is proving that our theories are correct, that they are liars, they are filth like that, they are just pushing wrong narratives to make a divide in between us, and it's reporters like yourself that are out there, and people that are part, let's say, of urbanscoop.news that are out there and exposing them for what they are, and we need more of that to try and gain some traction back onto our side and start letting our voices be heard. So all the work that you're doing is absolutely fantastic.
I think I've only been at Urban Scoop for about a month now.
Yeah, I know,
Now, I think that Urban Scoop, even though they've got a female following, I think they're very much male-led. And one thing that I wanted to do when I got on board was give those females a platform.
Definitely,
and
100%,
you know, the survivors as well that mainstream media don't want to work with.
100%,
so I did speak to them about, you know, kind of maybe a female protest to focus on protection for children and women.
100%.
And a lot of people seem to riots, and I put it out there, and people seem to really be on board with it. Do you think it's a good idea?
I mean, you know what? Just to talk about two-tier policing back in the day, I remember when there was a Sarah Everard vigil down in London for that lady that got murdered, and they were mostly white, middle-class women that were down there. And did you see how the police dealt with them? You know, with batons and stuff like that.
Yes, I remember.
To women, to white women.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were Muslim women, that would never have happened.
Do you think they'll do it to me?
Pardon?
Do you think they'll do it to me?
I'll tell you what, we'll send a few lads anyway to make sure they don't. I'll be there for you. We'll send Aidan down, you know what I mean? He'll be there with his camera to fight them off for you. Don't worry, you'll be all right. But yeah, but then literally a week or so later, you had BLM, and they were getting down on one knee for them.
Yeah.
You know, this is what you're fighting against, and the work that you guys are doing is imperative towards it, to get our voices out there and get some rights back into our hands. We're losing our rights. That's why people are so bloody angry, and there is this control thing. And I do actually believe, I've been reading a lot about this replacement thing, how and it comes into it when you say that Christianity is being watered down and our values are being taken away and our morals are taken away. I keep seeing this replacement, this great replacement theory coming into place, where it is a case of taking away the British culture and replacing it with something completely different, completely alien, and I think it is the Islamic one. You know what I mean?
Now,
we don't want that for our country, so you know, we've got to speak out as loud as we can.
Yeah, we've not got much time left.
No.
So,
Yeah.
first of all, what do we need to do to fix things?
I ain't got a clue.
No.
I'm joking. Okay, so I mean, the only way this is going to get fixed now is, I personally believe, politically. I think we guys are in a position where Tommy's organising these huge demonstrations, and they're getting a lot of traction, and he's getting the voice out there, and he's getting the exposure that he used to have back in the day. Especially now he's had his Twitter back. I think they need to continue to start giving people a place to go to meet like-minded individuals who they can talk to, and you know, and people who can help them. You know, people who share their concerns, are willing to put an arm around them and help them in any single way.
I went to the July 27th one. I did some reporting from there, and I also got on stage and spoke about me Born from Rape campaign.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even describe that as a protest. It was like a festival.
No, 100%. Yeah, it wasn't a protest.
There was
a gathering.
tens and tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And it was peaceful.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought it was great.
Beautiful, wasn't it? Beautiful, but the press obviously don't say that, and the politicians don't say that. But
I think a couple of journalists did start to swear that. I think GB News.
Well, here's what we need then. We need to keep holding them events, so we start swaying a few more people, and it starts really getting out there, and we can finally prove that what the two-tier Keir and his party have been saying, and what some journalists' outputs have been saying, are complete lies about us. But I think we need to get behind reform, because I believe they are the only party that are going to be for the British people, regardless if you're white, black or brown, that will keep our values in check and give the rights back to the people. I think
they need to be careful though, because if they're not careful, and I've already seen this.
What's that? They
need to be careful that the people don't start to turn against them.
Yeah.
Because I think what kind of Nigel did with he said everything right, and then he kind of chucked Tommy under the bus. Now, I've had my views on Tommy.
I think I remember you being quite critical of Tommy Robinson.
I might call him a see you next Tuesday once or twice. I probably still would, to be fair.
Yeah.
But there's things I agree with him, and obviously some, and that, you know, that's going to be the case.
Not everybody agrees and disagrees on the same things.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're human.
But when I look at Tommy and Nigel, they're saying the same things.
I know, 100%.
I know Tommy's more focused on Islam,
100%.
you know, and of course you can't criticise Islam because you get a lot more stick for that. But I do think that they're saying the same things, and I think Nigel, when he's going against Tommy, he's going against a lot of the following.
Nigel was critical of Tommy Robinson back in the day. I saw that a few times. I think it would be a dangerous game for Nigel to brush Tommy under the carpet. You know what I mean? Because Tommy does have a lot of support, and he can bring a hell of a lot of support to reform, and he has been promoting it in some ways as well. So I think it would be a great alliance for them two. But I think people just do need to get. But my opinion, because I can't tell people how to vote. I'm not a Stasi, you know what I mean, such as our current Labour Party. But I think people do need to get behind reform, and then maybe 4 or 5 years down the line, we get a party in that actually cares for us and can take us back to them good times.
I feel the people have no leader, and I think that's why people turn to Tommy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Because if you look at every party, even Nigel, he has called everybody pretty much, you know, far right, thug and all of this. There's no leader there.
Yeah.
Like when I was asked by Tommy to speak, because I did him a video for the June event.
Yeah.
Just to tell a little bit about that, and then I went in person in July. by. Now, did I kind of think, will this kind of tarnish things for me? Yeah, it did. And I know the risks involved. But I still decided to go along because I knew what platform was there. And for me, when I'm raising awareness to try and educate people and change laws and all of this, exploitation happens to all audiences.
100%.
It don't just happen to the left, it happens to the right, you know, even the far left, the far right. I think it's important to educate everybody. So what I didn't want to do is, you know, not represent those people as well.
I think it's great that you've actually stood up, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people do get fearful to attend these events or to stand up and speak and say their opinion, and I think you're a shining example of people can do and people should do, you know what I mean? You need to stick with what you believe in, even if we are going to get labelled with this, that and the other. We know it's ridiculous and we know it's completely false, so we need to go with what's right.
And the thing is as well, and I'm not going to sit and say Tommy's an angel, we know he's not. There is people in our industry.
I think he's an angel. I'm an angel. We're all angels.
Listen, my angels will call him Saint Sammy. We'll call him Saint Sammy. But there's people far worse in our industry.
Oh, bloody hell,
When I kind of hear some of the things, and
I wouldn't even put him on a level of bad, you know what I mean? He's excellent. But then even with the politicians that we're dealing with nowadays and the media, I mean, they're really at the bottom of the bottom.
There's people in our industry that have been in prison for murder, for domestic violence, for drug dealing, for stabbing people. They've now got their own charities, organisations, and they're funded by the government. So when I look at Tommy compared to all these people, in some respects, he's a little bit of a pussycat.
Oh, definitely.
To be honest, I've probably done more worse things in my life than him. and it's what I want to ask you. When, you know, people said, well, you've now aligned yourself with Tommy. And people saying he's radicalised you, he's groomed you. What do you think?
I think that's
has Tommy groomed me?
You'd have to be, you know what, if you knew Tommy Robinson like we knew Tommy Robinson, and I've known him for a hell of a long time, you know the thought that he could radicalise someone is the most ridiculous thought I could have ever. I know, precisely. You know what I mean? I think sometimes he said, I mean, it's your fault. Don't fucking blame me, you know what I mean? If something ever goes...
I must admit, everything I do now, Tommy gets blame. And the thing is,
they're going to want to pin the blame somewhere, because they don't want to pin it on you because you're a survivor of such, you know, a critical court case that happened back in the day. But you know, they're going to try and put they're going to try and shift the blame onto him somehow. I mean, even with these riots, tried to shift the blame onto him somehow, because they want to bring him down and down because he's coming up so much. Because he's coming up so much and becoming so successful, this is the time they're going to try and nail him. So any blame they can put anywhere, they're going to put it on his head. You know what I mean? But this is the time we've all really got to get behind him, and hopefully there's talks of another demonstration coming, so let's see what happens.
They're trying to pin everything to do with the riots on him.
I know, 100%. Which is just
what do you think is going to happen with that?
Well, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? You can't pin it on him. There's no evidence of it. He went abroad the minute that demonstration was over. These riots have got nothing to do with him. Nothing that he said. He's never condoned the riots. He's condemned them. You know what I mean? So it's just ridiculous. I think to give it any airspace at all is just a waste of everybody's time. You know what I mean? But people will look. The media look. Because the people of this country will look and see what the media have said and see the falsehoods that the politicians have been pushing once again. And it's just another example to the people that your media are lying, your politicians are lying to you, and the police are still two-tiering as normal. And so, you know, it's playing into our hands at the end of the day, I think.
Now, I could sit and say a lot of things that need to change, but the question is it going to change?
I think if we stick to our beliefs and we stick to our path, which is the right path, and we go down it in a humble, you know, working way, in a humble, loving way where all our ethics and our morals are on the same track, I think that we do have a strong chance. But I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I mean, we started the EDL back in 2008 and thought we could make head moves, you know what I mean? By 2011, we did a bit. We lit a fire that got the whole world speaking about militant Islam and extremist Muslims. But, you know, but it didn't change, obviously. And now, I think things have got worse in this country. I think if we all stick together and all our people who share the same concerns, if we stick together and keep family and keep ourselves first, I think there is a way of getting there at the end, but it's going to take a while. But I think what we do need is we need politicians that are actually going to back us and give the voice back to the British people, because that's one thing that we've lost. We need protecting, we need taking care of. We need a government that are going to put countrymen first instead of themselves first. They need to be our slaves, not our slave masters, like Margaret Thatcher once said. So so I think there is a way, but you know, I'm ready for the ride, and I'm sure you're going to be there as well, and we'll have a few laughs and jokes on the way. Let's see where we get.
Let's see where we go.
Well, you'll be all right. Trust me. I've seen a lot worse. You know what I mean? But yeah, great.
So Just before we go though.
Yeah. Just before we go though.
Just before we go, and I've totally forgot what the question were. And it's when I've been wanting to ask, right, what do you think Urban Scoop could do for the people?
I think what Urban Scoop is doing for the people is you know, it's very important. It's imperative. It's giving the people the good news, the right news, the correct news by like-minded individuals, and I think they just need to keep doing that. They're giving the people a voice. They're giving reporters a voice, journalists a voice to put their work out there, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the work that all you guys are doing are brilliant. Yeah, I think it's perfect.
So, last question.
Go on then.
This whole situation with the rioting has pretty much been blamed on EDL, and with you as being one of the leaders, do you feel that you're safe?
Yes, I don't, because once again, it's pure bullshit. And so
there's lots of people that don't believe it's bullshit.
I mean, look, everything that the media is saying, everything that the mainstream media is saying is completely lies. Yes, they're trying to pin it on. I mean, if this was something, if there was an English Defence League and these riots were organised by English Defence League, I'd be locked up and thrown in jail with the rest of them right now, because it'd probably be me organising them. But there is no English Defence League. They've not been organised by EDL, so it's all just fallacies put on the table again by false journalists and false media, and false journalists and false politicians. You know what I mean? I have no worries or concerns about it, because at the end of the day, the truth always comes out. These lies aren't going to bring us down. So I don't have any concerns about it. You know what I mean? My name started getting buzzing there a little bit. It's working into my hands a little bit, because I've only just started my social media back up. Okay. I've started getting on X and YouTube and all that. So my numbers have started increasing from it. So maybe in one way it's helped me. But
so Elon Musk, he's getting hammered a little bit, innit?
Well, I don't think he's getting hammered. I think he's the one doing the hammering. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. So I mean, I personally think a lot has changed since Elon's, you know, kind of,
100%, because he's bought Twitter to create a platform for free speech, which is precisely what it is. You know what I mean? There's nothing illegal. It's free speech. Sometimes free speech offends people. That does not mean that it's not allowed to be published out there. The things that he said about two-tier care and the justice system, what's going on in this country, we've got his support, and he's highlighted it. He's bringing it to the masses. It's that sort of exposure that's going to help us. It's going to help us, guys. So yeah, God bless you. God bless Elon.
I mean, what I would say about X is because I'm a big believer in everything in life happens for a reason, and timing and everything. So when Tommy was allowed back on X, I was actually, and that week, I'd actually sat down with my kids and I said, I'm not going to be doing my activism and stuff anymore. I was going to just try, because I knew it would be a Labour government, I was going to try and just push my last few campaigns, but I was kind of walking away from this whole situation because I just felt I didn't fit anywhere in the work that I was doing. I kind of felt like my views, even though I know other people have got them, they can't speak on them because, you know, they get threatened, you know, they'll lose their jobs, etc. So when Tommy came back on, I was like, oh, this kind of got a little bit interesting. Let's see how things work out.
So how did it work out for you then? How are you finding it?
Well, I'm sat here with you, so...
Well, there you go then. So you're going in the right direction, aren't you? There you go. Good move you played there.
So we'll see how things work out.
I think you're going fantastic. And your voice and what you've been through, you know, like I said, you can help a lot of future victims or, you know, future survivors, you know, in this country, and stop and prevent this sort of thing, these sort of atrocities from happening to other youths as well. I think people like you are imperative. It's very important. So I'm glad you didn't stop your activism. So good on you.
So
we'll see how it goes. Tommy's. We'll see how it goes. I'll be here along the journey with you as well. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure we'll have a good laugh. High five.
Thank you for speaking with me. Thank you everybody at home for watching as well. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button and feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you all soon.
To support Urban Scoop and all the work that we're doing, please head over to urbanscoop.news and click on the support us button.